I kid you not, 7 of the same trim model. There is a lot of value to this package because it doesn't break the bank and you do get a lot of extra features. Granted, going into it, this year model, we do have a couple of the 2024s left and we do have 25s. There's not much difference, so I figured I'd go ahead and just show you the new year model. Going into the actual technology, the reason why you'd want to check out a video like this is because either you had a salesman that didn't go over every little feature, or you just want to revisit and relearn, because of course the Kia salesman technicians, we all take classes on everything, including all of the technology. So we try to make it easy. Granted, we should know all of this information to make your life easier when you purchase these cars. So going into it, I'm going to go ahead and just touch every single button in this car. That way you know how to operate it. Going into the back seat, of course, the gas tank, it's just a push. You literally just press it and it'll pop right open. If the car is locked, that gas tank will not open though. You do have these levers right here, of course. You can see that it's sitting straight up. I don't know about you, but I don't have that great of posture. So you can use those levers to recline. So I'll show you right here. Granted, this is a 60-40 split. So the 40 is on the driver's side, 60 on the passenger. Going into the tailgate, with the EX model on the new 2025s, you can get a premium package. This one does not have it, but with the premium package, you can get the automatic liftgate and the sunroof, which is the full panoramic. Going into the trunk though, you got a lot of space, and as you can see, if you do recline the seats, you do lose a little cargo space on the height size, but not a big deal there. Of course, you do have a 12-volt right here, levers right here to lay down the second row. Granted, the front seats have to be pushed up just enough for it to lay down completely. I don't know if this is gonna work. It did. So now that seat will lay completely flat. Granted, this is a brand new vehicle, so everything's a little bit stiff. So that is great there. It is an optional thing right now with the manufacturer. Most of the time they will send us a spare donut with the jack and all of that, but I have seen 24 models with only the inflator kit, tire mobility kit as Kia calls it. That is not my preference, but everyone has their own. Granted, Kia also does give you roadside assistance right there for 60,000 miles. They'll come out and help you out any way they can. Of course, power seats right there. You got the lumbar as well. If you go with the LX model, you get cloth and manual seats. So that's why a lot of people step up to this EX model, because you get the leather, power seats, and you even get the heated seats as well. Going over here on the door though, obviously, most of the basics is going to be same across any vehicle, right? They didn't try to make things too complicated. But you got your windows right here. It's just like a video game D-pad. So that's the left mirror, that's the right mirror. This just adjusts the way it angles. That's all it does. And of course, lock, unlock. You got these little symbols right here. If you look closely, that symbol means auto up and auto down. So that means the front windows, you can just touch it and it'll be done. And then you do have window locks for the rear. The rears are not auto touch though. So go and hop in this vehicle. Excuse me. So right here, this right here is your brightness for that 24-inch screen. Granted, your navigation, everything will dim down during the nighttime. Essentially dark mode, if you are familiar with that. But if it's just too much strain, you can hit this. And one step further, there is a blue light filter in the settings as well. So I can show you that down the road. Traction control, this is a front wheel drive vehicle. We all know about this, so that's up to you if you want to turn that off. Kia has transitioned to a fully electronic parking brake. Granted, a lot of brands have as well. So the benefit to an electronic parking brake is when you're looking at this on the screen and you go ahead and set it. To set it, you just put your foot on the brake and you pull it. You can't hear it through the phone, but there was a little bit of an electronic noise and you feel a little bit of pressure on the brake. So it's on, and now, oh, well, in the old cars, you would be worried about potentially driving with the e-brake on. Well, this is not the case. If you shift to drive, it turns off. So I do like that. But if you're always worried about it, you can always just set it by pulling it and pushing it to unset it, but your foot does have to be on the brake. Going into the actual headlights though, you do have pretty much all the standard features. You got off, auto, these are your daytime running lights, and that is forcing your headlights to be on. So auto, typically people will use auto most of the time because they don't like fiddling with it. But if it's dusky and it's rainy, but it's still kind of bright outside, there have been situations where that auto through the camera on facing the road will not see the need to turn your lights on, but you may see the need, and that's why you have that top option. So you flip it up and now you have the two symbols right there. They are both meaning the car lights are on. Going into the buttons right here, you have your voice recognition. If I tap this button right here, it's going to be very basic commands, and you can even hit this little button right here and you can see what commands are available. Now this right here is not going to be like your Google or your Apple CarPlay where you're able to talk to your Siri, and with that Siri, obviously you get to talk more natural with it. You can say go to a specific restaurant of choice and what have you, whereas the screen itself through Kia and the voice recognition, it's a little bit more robotic. Now with the Apple Car hooked up through the cord, being a 2025, this is not the newest screen for Kia. A couple of the old newer models like the Sorento K4, what have you, have the newest screen, which gives you wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but I expect to see that screen in the new 2026 Sportage. Going into it though, you still need your cord for your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's that middle one right there, and you can use the voice recognition on the steering wheel to use your Siri at that point if it's activated. Going into these buttons right here, of course, you got your volume button, you got your up and down, and then you even have your mute. So you just literally go up, down, and press in, and then mode. This button right here, obviously this changes the station, what you're actually listening to. But the mode button, if you hit that right now, granted this is a brand new vehicle, this one has not been set up based on personal preferences, and these are profile based. So if you have two people driving the car, you guys can have different settings based on each profile. So you could have Bluetooth phone projection, and then your significant other or what have you could be on USB music and FM. So it's your choice, of course. So as you can see, there are 4 customizable buttons, and I'm just going to jump into all 4 right now since we're here. So you just choose the audio, and then you hit the mode button at any time, and it'll flip from the source. And when it flips from the source where the audio is actually coming from, the volume will be independent volume based on each individual source. So the volume will be higher or lower depending on which source it was left at. So typically though, I'll have the sound startup volume limit. So if you were blasting music on when you shut the car off, that way it doesn't blast you when you first get in the car and kind of wake you up, you know. So that's what that does. So of course, this just answers phone calls, pretty basic. You can hit that button and it'll even bring up your most recent phone calls, and you can just tap on the screen to reach out to those people too. But this is a star button right here on your steering wheel, and it even says it right there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that one right there, and you can see that it has a lot of presets that you can make it. With this section, I kind of messed up, but essentially I'm just saying the reject or end call is typically what I'll choose on the steering wheel because it just makes the most sense to me. Your situation, you may need to use the voice memo if you're a lawyer or what have you, or you can even use the home button, but I actually like putting the home button on that star right there, and that one is right there. So they call it the custom navigation button, but I typically will scroll up and I'll choose that home button, because one small defect is when you have that Apple CarPlay or Android Auto hooked up and it's projecting onto the screen, that home button, which is that button right there, will sometimes disappear, and you're like, how do I get back to the main Kia screen instead of the the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So when I hit this star button, whatever screen you're on, it'll just go back to this. So that makes it a little bit easier. So that pretty much covers all of these buttons over here. Now you do have these buttons right here on the steering wheel as well. I'll go ahead and start with this one. If you see right here, I'm going to see if my camera will focus the correct way. You can see where the gas mileage, everything, but I'm hitting the button and it's moving across the top. But right here, you also have this knob for the white little dots that you see on the side, so you can see even more information. Granted, this one right here, it's a very unique Kia feature along with the lane assist, and that little coffee cup will essentially pop up, and that attention level will decrease if you're swerving all over the road, crossing the white lines, getting beeped at, what have you. So it'll say, why don't you take a break? Why don't you get a cup of coffee so you don't accidentally cause an accident or get in trouble or what have you. So that's a very unique feature. But going into it, I do like this screen right here particularly, because you already have a digital speedometer right there, but that screen right there with the car, you can see that the lane assist is on, but with Kia it's on but not activated until you get to a certain speed limit. So right now the lane assist is on. To turn it off and on, you just hold this button. So you have the big car, but the little car right above that speed limit sign is the most important one, because it lets you know that it's on. So if I hold this button, you'll see that little car disappear. Now it's off. Lane assist is not operating. The car will not try to beep or try to drive itself. So all you have to do is just hold that button to turn it back on. I accidentally tapped it and I showed one more feature, but I'm not going to talk about that just yet. So that lane assist with that car right there, that bigger white car, will essentially show you white lines illuminated beside it, letting you know it's activated as well, and it'll let you know if one side of lane assist is not working correctly but the other side is. That little car though, right above that speed limit sign, will turn green, typically around 40 miles an hour, and then lane assist is working. So that's how you'll know. Now going back to this other feature, this is 2 buttons in one. I held it for the lane assist, you tap it for the highway drive assist. Now everyone knows who Tesla is, obviously. They were kind of the forefront for self-driving cars. Everyone's kind of adapted their own technology towards it. Kia's technology is very nice, it works very well, and they've actually upgraded the technology on certain models all the way up to Highway Drive Assist 3, which will even veer away from a car accidentally merging into their lane, and Highway Drive Assist 2 will even change lanes on the interstate for you. Now, this is not legal self-driving through Kia. You do need to keep your hands on the wheel. So that is one thing. The vehicle will tell you to keep your hands on the wheel. I do like this feature though, especially for long trips. I do visit Missouri all the time, and with those long trips, if you're tired or what have you, it will essentially keep you from swerving all over the place. So that is in the name though, Highway Drive Assist. We typically don't recommend using that in the city, but it will turn green as well when it's activated. So you just hit that little steering wheel button and it'll never come on, and the car's not driving itself. Now going into the cruise control, Kia has shifted the concept of cruise control just a little bit, where you don't turn it on and off. You just get to the speed that you need to be at, and then you just hit the button. As you can see, cruise control conditions not met because we're not driving, so it doesn't lock it in. That's pretty straightforward, of course. Now going into the buttons right here, of course, you know, this one right here, you can go up and down, look at more information on all of these screens. And then of course TPMS sensors. I've been sitting for a little bit, so that's why it says drive to display, because the sensors need to see motion for them to show accurate readings on the actual pressure. Typically you drive 10 miles an hour for about 30 seconds and it'll fix itself. So Going into this though, this is part of the cruise control as well. This adjusts the speed. So if you set it for 80, this will change it to 81 or 79, and then this will pause and restart your cruise control if you end up having to touch your brake. So I do like that. Going into the other features on the actual steering wheel, I think we only have wipers left. All of the Sportages do have a rear wiper, and then some of the models do have automatic wipers as well. But this one right here, you can see that you just twist the end for the rear, and then you do have intermittent, and you can kind of figure out your specific rain tempo. So as you can see, it's got the 3 raindrops versus 1. That way you can make sure those wipers aren't scraping, squealing, and actually clearing your window appropriately so you can see the road safely. Going into the actually wireless phone charger, if you have any sort of magnet, wallet, what have you, anything blocking the signal, it will not work. There is a setting to turn the wireless phone charger off if you don't plan on using it, because you do have the USB-C, which will charge your phone faster, way faster. And then you do have the USB-A and the 12 volt. So those 3 chargers are always going to be faster than the wireless. That is a convenience factor, but most wireless phone chargers, they're 50% charge rate. So going into these buttons right here, we have the coolest cup holder in the world. Of course, you can carry a big old thermos, and then you can also hit the button, and you can see it makes it a smaller cup holder to carry something a little bit smaller. And then you have the arrows, as you can see. You push those in, and now your cup holder's back to big. Drive mode. Pulling it right onto the screen. This is a front wheel drive, so it has normal, sport, and smart. If you get a all-wheel drive, you'll add the snow mode. Typically what people will do is have it in smart mode because it learns the way you're driving, essentially, don't overthink it, and it will give you power when you need it, when you're asking for it, and it essentially will switch to the sport mode. But most of the time, it's saving gas, and it'll be that blue-green. But that word smart will change colors based on your driving habits. So blue-green for eco, and then orange-red for sport mode. And then downhill brake assist, of course, that's pretty standard. You just hit the button, you'll know it's popping right up on the screen. That helps you maintain control while you're going down a steep grade hill. Auto hold is a feature that a lot of these brands have adapted. I personally do not care for it, but I always like to explain it so customers are not confused if it accidentally gets kicked on. So if you shift to drive, that word auto hold is now green. So what does that mean? Well, my foot is on the brake right now. I'm gonna let go of that brake, but the car's still in drive. So it's holding your brake for you while you're in drive. Now, you're like, how do I go forward? Or what's the purpose of this? Well, 2 situations I've seen is bumper to bumper traffic and fast food drive-thrus. People will either be impatient or they just don't want to have their foot on the brake the whole time, and they'll just shift to park. This doesn't make you do that. It'll just give you that time, and then if you want to move forward, all you do is just hit the gas. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the gas. I'm gonna drive a little bit, and then I'm gonna come to a complete stop. What do I do now? Auto hold turns back on. It's holding the brake for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and shift to park, and that's that feature. So if you're wondering why your car is not moving forward and you're in drive, now you know why. It's because of that auto hold feature right there. Now, this is my favorite feature, if you can hear my sarcasm. This is the stop and go feature that is on every brand as far as I know. It is a feature that when the car meets certain conditions, you're not blasting the heat or whatever, not drawing too much power, the engine will shut off at a stoplight like that one, or stop sign if the car meets the conditions. And then you can see that little A right there will turn green, and that A, when it's green, means your engine is off as well. So I cannot stand that feature. It's in almost every single brand, so it is what it is. If I'm not mistaken, it's related to emissions and certain things like that, but I don't really believe in it. I don't feel like it has a big effect. So on my wife's Kia Sorento, because we have 3 children, I hit this button every single time I drive her car. So I just hit that button and that engine will not shut off. So if the light is on, engine stays on. That's the way I look at it. So I always like to go over that. You do have the parking sensor, not the parking sensors, that's the parking sensor right here. So you want this light on all the time for your safety. But the biggest reason why, like, why would I turn this off? Well, there's 2 situations. What if you end up towing something, or you go through a car wash? You may not want to be beeped at the whole time. Granted, the Sportage does not have a very large towing capacity, so I don't recommend towing a lot. So you just hit that button, make sure that's on. This button right here, though, I do see some benefit to it on the models that have the automatic liftgate. So you can see, for this specific vehicle, though, you can make sure that you're all the way inside your garage, pulled up enough so the garage door won't hit. That's what my wife and I do. But if you have the automatic liftgate, you can take advantage of it another way. If you do that grocery pickup with whatever company, you can actually see them walking up to your car ready to go, and then you could just open the tailgate for them. So I do like that as well. Go and turn that off, though. Of course, I do have my heated seats on. It's a little chilly today. I always like the 1st or 2nd level. That 3rd level is if you're cold natured, you're just freezing to death. That 3rd level works very, very well. All these new brands, though, I do want to talk about this because it's just a feature that is, as long as you have a normal shifter like this. Our hybrid Sportage is a rotary shifter, so it's completely different. But if you slap this over to the left, now you have the plus minus sign. You have a shift mode where you can control the shift points yourself. Granted, you don't have a clutch like a standard, so it's, I essentially call it a clutchless standard variation. Granted, we all know. So that's just a small little feature there. Now, the wireless phone charger, to revisit that, if the wireless phone charger, you do want to use it, you just lay your phone in there, and then that light will kick on, and then also the screen right there by that Kia Connect or Kia Access, it'll show that it's charging as well. Going into the screen, which is the biggest part of it, and you actually have 2 screens because you got the one down there and you got the big one right here. We've already gone over this one right here. So of course, you do have different profiles. Like I was mentioning, you can change the user. So this is where when you take ownership, you can customize it, change the name, do what you want. You can change themes and all that. But as you can see, it's just like your phone. You don't need to press too hard, don't overthink it, and you can even just hit right there and your navigation will pull right up. Now with the navigation, as you can see, there's a lot of options. It does fade it out, but it does not get rid of it completely. That home button is still there. You got the compass, of course. That's the navigation sounds, so you can actually customize the sounds, and you can adjust the volume. Priority lowers all other volume. But maybe if you're one of the people that like to jam out on road trips, you don't want to be interrupted by the navigation, you can make it where the volume priority is not there, but it does alert you, hey, get ready to turn in 1 mile and what have you. Now you do have the plus and minus sign. That just increases the distance or decreases the distance you're looking at the map. The one downside to these built-in maps on these Kias, and this is me being fully transparent, is they do not have any sort of major landmarkers. They only have big retailers, and that's about it. They don't have road names or anything. They will take you to the correct location because the Kia Access app, which is here's some buttons kind of showing that, those road signs and everything won't show on the map, but it will take you to the correct location because the maps get updated through that Kia Access quarterly. So that's just one thing I want to mention. It's not going to show road names or nothing, so don't expect to see road names on the navigation unless you end up using your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So that's the only difference. If you use that map, then it'll show everything because obviously it's a little bit different than Kia's version. Now, I do like that little button right there. All these big screens have it. You have the split screen option. So right now I just have the Sounds of Nature going. There's a lot of different media sources, so you can see split screen, and the Kia Access app will release more information once you get it activated. So as you can see, there's a little map as well. You have the time, you have the compass, and then there's different looks for the compass too. And then you even have a calendar. You can have that attached to your car. So if you drive a lot, you could have a game plan. You don't have to look at your phone. You just know what you're doing that day. And then weather information, it'll update once you get that app activated. So that's all the information right there. But going back into this screen right here, you have the navigation menu. This is how you actually save addresses. This is how you'll type in addresses and all of that. But there's also another way to get there, and that's pressing the map, and you have the search bar. So there's a few different ways to reach certain menus. And then you even have a third button, and that's right here. So you got the map button and the nav button. These are readily available for you. I'm gonna go over this. This is gonna be the biggest thing for a lot of people. Kia is all about their technology. This is the only change that people are going to have to get used to with this Sportage specifically, and some of the other Kias. It doesn't take a long time, but it is new, and everyone's got to learn something new. With that though, phone, obviously you're going to have your Bluetooth calling. You'll have the caller ID. You can allow contacts, and you can even text message through the phone, but you do have to give it access to do that. Some people don't realize that you have to go into your phone settings and allow notifications to come through on the app. So that's just one small thing. Of course, phone projection right there, that's your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And then you do have that climate control, voice memo. Pretty basic stuff I've pretty much covered. You even do have valet mode for your Kia Access, so you can make sure they're not joyriding your car, not speeding in it, not taking it somewhere it's not supposed to go. So that valet mode is there for your convenience as well. And then you do have quiet mode. Quiet mode will project the sound to the front, and it actually, if you just read it, provides sound only to the front seats. If the volume exceeds factory set quiet level, it is lowered. So it's just a nice little feature if you have little ones sleeping in the back, or anybody sleeping in the back. Going into it, HD radio data. That is essentially going to clear up the quality of the radio, but there's also going to be potentially two different stations on the same station, if that makes sense. So one station could be a rock, the other could be a country, but it's on 100.3 at the same time. It'll show a number 1 or a number 2. Most people don't use the radio anymore unless they're listening to Sirius XM. So you just hit the radio, and then this right here, this is how you'll choose your source list. So right here you have, this is all of the radio source. So as you can see, I'm flipping through it, and you can even hit channel list, and you can look at specifically what station you want to listen to. So if I hit channel list, I can surf through Sirius, which is given to you on a brand new Kia Sportage for 3 months, and every other Kia for 3 months as long as it's a higher trim package. They do not release it on the base models typically, unless I think they give it to the Telluride. But that's all that is. And you may be wondering, how do I get my phone? Well, the phone is not the radio button, it's the media button. So you just tap that, and because I don't have a phone hooked up to it, it's not going to project any sort of phone sound. Instead, it's going to show you an option of what's available. So if I tap this, it just shows you all of the audio sources, and then you can pick and choose. But when you do end up Bluetoothing your phone to this screen, you hold that media button to get this screen. So if I tap it, it goes away. But when you get that Bluetooth hooked up, you just hold it, and then that screen will pull up, and then you can pull up your Sounds of Nature. So I do like that. Sounds of Nature, of course, a lot of people I've heard say, well, I don't want to fall asleep while I'm driving. Well, me and my wife, with our 3 boys, we have actually taken our boys on a trip because it was a very long night. They were fighting sleep, and we've actually used that to our advantage and taken them out on a drive and gotten them to fall asleep because it's very relaxing music. But that's just personal experience. I like to mention that. So that's pretty much the radio there, going into the media and then setup. Of course, you do have one more screen. You got notifications, user manual. That's a QR code. It'll let you download it, but you also get the user manual through the Kia Connect app too, and you'll have YouTube videos readily available that Kia has created as well. But I wanted to go the extra mile and go over every feature for all the customers because it's your money. You want to know how to use your car to the best of your ability, and you want to take advantage of the convenience factor. I mean, that's the whole purpose of a car, is to drive, but a lot of people like the amenities too. So I want to go over this screen, and then I'm going to go back and talk about one feature, and then we're pretty much done. So this screen right here, this is not hard to get used to, especially if you're technology savvy, but if you're worried about technology, it's not going to take a long time to get used to it. So as you can see, if we zoom in here, we got the volume and power. Right now, it's on the radio controls, as you can see. So that means it's going to touch the volume of the radio, your Bluetooth phone, whatever. And then if you hit the power button, it'll turn the power off for the radio, so you're not hearing anything. So you have these 6 buttons right here. These buttons will never change. They stay the way they are, but like I said, this is a screen. So if I hit this button, it'll change. So front defroster, rear defroster, auto climate, and then of course that's recirculate. But if I hit this button right here, now even the knob has changed what it can do. Now it's the power of your AC and not the radio, and it controls the temperature, not the volume. But still, these 6 buttons have changed or have not changed. So a lot of people with this screen, if they don't like flipping back and forth, they'll typically just use that auto climate. That's up to you though. It's not too hard to flip back and forth. But I'm going to go back to this radio screen, and you don't have to touch the orange. You just touch in this area and it'll flip right back. But zooming out just a little bit, you got that map nav button, you got the favorites button. We've already talked about that. Of course, you got the seek and track. I've never used those ever because you got the knob. The knob, way easier. I'm not just sitting there tapping the button. I'll just spin the knob. It's a lot easier. Of course, radio, media, and setup. I'm going to go into the setup here in a second. That's what I was going to go over because that's when you can find some very unique features. But going back into it, I'm going to hit this button again. And now you can see, like I said, power for the AC, temperature. So if I swap this, you can see the temperature's changing. But that word sync is on. This one has dual climate. So if I unhit this sync button, or let's say I touch the temperature over here as the passenger. If I touch it, that sync turns off, and now this person's at 65, this one's at 76. If you want both of them to stay the same period, then the passenger needs to reach over to your side, or you do it and turn the main volume, because this is the master switch. So if I change the temperature here, it will never kick off that sync mode. Granted, you got the AC button right there. Pretty straightforward. You just touch that and it'll kick on. And then you got the little fan and big fan, obviously fan speed. And then this is where the airflow is going. It's pretty straightforward, but if you have bad eyesight like me, I got some glasses on, you have to really look at it and see where the airflow is going. Right now it's going to the face and the feet, feet only, and then defrost and feet, and then just straight face. So that's all that is. And then just take this a step further, because not a lot of people know about this hidden feature. But in this little section right here, most people will get their AC controls set to where they're happy, and they don't ever really touch them, especially if you're going on a long trip, or if you just jump in the car and it's already set for what you're comfortable with. You hit this button right here and you actually hold it. So you're holding this button, and now you can see some more information. Returns to the selected display when the other display's times out. So what that means is right now it stays on the last one you leave. But if you want to go change this where it goes back to your radio every single time you leave the screen, I'll show that to you. You hit the infotainment system. So now when I go to the AC controls, I do what I got to do, tweak it, all that. I don't have to worry about hitting that button anymore because it just switched. So that's a nice little convenience factor for people that just don't like to touch a lot of buttons and just make the car do what I got to do. So that's another feature right there. But going into the setup feature, I know this video is getting pretty long, but I like to be thorough, and I like to be thorough for my customers because I am a Kia Master Certified Sales Consultant, and I want to keep that for a while. 2024, I ended with it. In 2025, I'm already working on getting it again. Going into the vehicle, though, you can customize all of this stuff. Data network, I do want to touch on the Kia Access app right now because you get that for 3 years with Kia now instead of 1. The 2024s only got 1 year of Kia Access, and now they have upgraded to 3 years. So I really like that. That feature is typically $20 a month if you let it expire. That will allow you to remote start the car from your phone, track it if it's stolen, and you even do get a little bit of data and network where you can get Wi-Fi built into the car. But there is one caveat to that data, and I'm always about transparency here too. The data that you get with the free ultimate package with Kia Connect is not that much. It's 3 gigs, and if you know about 3 gigs, that's not a lot at all. You'll run out pretty quick. It's 3 gigs or 3 months, whichever comes first. You're going to run out of data first. So that is an additional $20 a month, which I thought was a little insane, but that's just me being honest, and that's powered through Verizon. So $20 a month. So you're having to pay $40 a month after it expires to get both features. Personally, I don't care about that. Most people have hotspot or what have you, so I don't really care about that. Going into the Kia Connect, though, there is a few more things that app can do, and my biggest favorite feature, I wish I had a second phone to show you, but you actually have remote start schedules. So you have remote start on the actual key fob, but that key fob remote start is pretty basic. It just turns it on 72 degrees, and that's pretty much it. And with the remote start on a key fob and with the phone, there's one difference to a lot of different brands. When you remote start it, you'll lock, and hold. And then when you get in the vehicle, it's not going to look like this. The screen's black, and you're like, oh, well, what do I do? How do I get the car started? A lot of people will go ahead and put their foot on the brake and hit that button. That's not the case for Kia. All you have to do is just hit your foot on the brake, and the car's ready to drive. You don't have to do any other steps when you remote start it. Granted, the vehicle will stay locked, so you don't have to worry about any theft or anything. So with that remote start with the Kia Access, though, those remote start schedules, the benefit to those versus this is the remote start schedules. You can choose what temperature you want it on. You can have your defroster on. You could have pretty much everything turned on, and even the heated seats. And on the higher trim package, you could have the ventilated seats on, or even the heated steering wheel. So that remote start schedule, as long as you don't have a garage, you could benefit for it. Or if you're leaving work, and you leave work at 6 p.m. every day and it's 20 degrees outside. So I do like that as well. Going into a little bit more nitty-gritty stuff, the user profile, I'm not going to dive into that. It's pretty basic. Everyone's seen a profile before. We've already gone over the buttons. So the star down there, star on the steering wheel, the display, that's pretty straightforward, but I'll go ahead and show you that. So if you hit the display, this is where you can adjust the brightness in here, but that's also where the blue light filter is. And then you can actually adjust the camera settings. You can actually change the brightness of your camera, all that if you want. But that's just the really small stuff. Screen layout, I don't ever touch that. I just leave it as is, but that's up to you. I'm not going to dive into it because that is getting into a little bit nitty-gritty stuff that's not very important. Sound, though, like I said, I do have that startup volume limit, so you're not getting destroyed in the morning with loud radio. Of course, you can choose the position. I had a customer yesterday. She listens to older rock, and she wanted the audio. She wanted it about right there, and she didn't want any treble, so she wanted it to sound like a stadium almost. And then if you go to tone, I've already tuned this car. This is my preference with these Kias. I've played around with these since 2020, and with this specific radio, because this is not the upgraded Harman Kardon on the Sportage, this is just a standard 6-speaker. This is what I recommend, and that's personal preference. You choose what you like. Of course, guidance. I went into the setup and sound. So this is where you can control the sound of a lot of other things too, not just your radio. So you can control the guidance sound, radio, and then even the driver assistance, which by that, the warning volume. So when you're backing up, stuff like that. And then you can even turn on the audible warning for the lane assist. That's up to you. Right now on this model, because it's the higher end model, it will vibrate the steering wheel. But if you want it to beep at you too, then you can do that. So we've covered the sound. We pretty much covered everything on this. Now, going into the actual vehicle, this is the most important screen to me, because this is where you get to customize the actual driving of the vehicle. Most important thing, right? The whole purpose of a car is to how it drives. So with all of the safety features on this car, we've already covered a few. You got the lane assist right there, but you also do have the forward collision assist right there with the camera staring at the road. That lane assist, that camera is doing more than just the lane assist. It's doing a lot. But you also do have the blind spot sensors too. So those blind spot sensors we're about to touch. So if we go into that forward safety, let's just do the first one. With the Sportage 2024 and 2025, with this screen, you are allowed to customize your safety features. Some of the other models, this is not available. So this is why a lot of people have liked the Sportage so much. So right now, the forward collision assist will give you time, and the screen will flash red, and it's like, you're about to hit someone, hit the brake. And if you don't hit that brake in time, the car will do it for you. But if you just don't like that feature, hit that warning only. That's what a lot of people will do. So it yells at you, but that's it. But if you do one other thing, if you turn it completely off, the only downside is you have that little symbol right there. And some people just don't want to see lights on their screen like that. So I would say warning only would be the preference if you don't want that active assist. Now, lane assist right here, right now it's on active. So as you can see, it does tell you exactly what it's do. It will touch that wheel just a little bit. You have full control. You can overpower it, but it will try to tug a little on you. And you can change it to beeping or warning only instead of it trying to drive itself, just like that forward assist. Blind spot safety, this is the only one that makes sense to me to keep on active assist. And I mean that thoroughly, besides the forward safety too. I kind of think that makes sense too. The safe exit warning goes on top of the blind spot sensors. So when you put your turn signal on and there's the car to your blind spot, and you still try to merge, it's already tried to warn you, then you go ahead and get yanked back a little bit so you don't hit them. So it's not going to overpower you, but it is going to nudge you like pretty seriously. Hey, you need to not try to hit them. But you can scroll and change it to warning only as well. So that's of course up to you. And then parking safety. And if you hit that parking safety, you do have rear cross traffic safety. It will show you which direction in that backup camera. So if I hit that button, it'll show you an arrow which direction. So other than that though, we're pretty much finished up, but I do have a few other things like the theme. You can actually change the color of your screen, because right now it's linked to the drive modes, but it changes colors based on the drive modes. Very small things, climate, lights, and I mean, there's just a bunch of stuff you can play around with. A lot of older people will tend to lock that turn signal in, right? And they'll just leave it blinking forever. Well, they have a newer feature to help out some of those peoples, and you can actually hit that right there, that one-touch turn signal. And right now, if you just do a little bit of half click, it just does 3 flashes, but you can change that to 5 or 7. That way, you make sure that you're letting people know that you're changing lanes, but you're not having it on forever. Other than that though, I hope everyone has enjoyed this video. I've gone very in depth. Hopefully I've covered everything that you potentially could care about. There is a bunch of YouTube videos that Kia has created as well, going over the safety features a little bit more in depth. So if you have any questions at all, give me a shout. Again, my name's Andrew Peck. You can call me Andy, and I'm down here, Crane Kia of Conway, Arkansas. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye.